Hello again, and welcome to Junkyard Studios. Here on my favorite workbench, the dryer. Running out of space, as you can see. Lots of stuff going on. I was inspired. I saw a module based off of a Hammond vibrato scanner. And I thought that I could do the same thing for guitar or bass or keyboard, depending on how it goes. We'll see. This is, again, we're coming in a little late on this. I apologize. I really had no intention of filming any of this stuff, but I decided it would be interesting to see. So this is my mock-up. I kind of mock up things before I end up actually putting them together, and it helps me to kind of visualize the process. So we have the line array here, the vibrato scanner unit here, which I have not heard, so I might have to actually open that up and clean it and fix it. I know that that particular spout should be removed. According to the articles I've read, we don't want the oil going back into the scanner unit from here. So depending on whether it works or not, I might open that up and get rid of that and clean some stuff. But first we'll build it and see how it sounds. I've got a motor mount here. I need to cut down a little bit. I'll do that. I'll spare you the process of all the cutting and things. What I usually use for this kind of stuff is just a regular old Dremel with a metal blade. The quick connect type that just kind of attach themselves. Those are my tool of choice. I've got the input-output jacks ready, the pilot light, the switch. Here's going to be all my wiring for the inductors and 3-prong power cord. I just kind of recycled a chassis that I had lying around. I had the good fortune of getting a massive amount of amplifiers and parts and things from someone who's going to throw a lot of that stuff away, and my goal is to create as much as I possibly can with it. My goal is always to create fun audio projects without spending a whole lot of money and reusing as many things as I possibly can to do it. I'm going to begin work on this scanner vibrato chassis. I already put this piece of metal here that's going to hold up the scanner vibrato. I put in the pilot light, which I might move over to here. I think it'll look better, and maybe take those two input-output jacks, move them down. We'll see. It was just kind of a mock-up. So I placed the vibrato line array here, and I marked all 4 of the bolt corners. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this punch. I'm going to go in the center of the mark and punch. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little dimple, and that's where my drill bit's gonna find it and have an easier time putting it right where it goes, so that I can mount the line array. The other thing I'm going to do, I just cut the bracket for the motor. I'm going to find a correct spot on that to mount on the chassis, and I've also marked 4 bolt holes and where I need to cut for the vibrato to mount to and that wheel to spin freely and not get stuck on any part of this metal. So I'm going to chop that with my Dremel tool. This is the Dremel tool I talked about. Those are the quick release blades I use. I buy tons of these things. I go through a million of them. They're totally worth it. I wish they'd be a little sturdier, but they're not. So I just buy them in bulk. And a couple of things when you're using this: always wear hearing protection and safety glasses. I learned that the hard way. I was actually wearing my safety glasses. I almost think I need a face shield because a piece of cutoff, a very small sliver, went behind my safety glasses and actually into my eye, and I had to go to an eye doctor to have it removed. And it didn't hurt or anything. I saw it in the rear view mirror one day, and my eye was irritated all day. I just thought I had something in there and it wasn't coming out. It came out, everything's fine, my eyeball's okay. It's just another reminder to always wear your safety goggles or a face shield when you're cutting this stuff, when you're cutting wood, anything. Even with insurance benefits, it was still probably about almost $100 just for a probably 5 or 10 minute procedure. So it's not only costly, but it's painful. It's not worth it. All right, I'm outside here, and hopefully you can hear me and see this. I took the chassis and I painted it. I decided to do something a little different this time with my project, and I whacked it with some primer. And it's not my favorite color, but it's what was left over in the bin. So it looks okay. It looks better than it did. I usually don't paint my projects. I just kind of keep them, rusty and warty. So I thought I'd do something different this time. Another thing I'd like to stress, especially with things like these real amps or the Leslie or that Hammond vibrato unit that I'm working with, I didn't chop any of these things out of working units, and I don't suggest that anybody do that. I bought each one of these pieces already taken from what I hope was broken beyond repair units, and took those pieces to create the audio products that I have now. I do not support ripping apart any of these old units just for the purpose of harvesting the parts. If it works, leave it alone. Don't break it apart for this. If you find them on eBay already ripped apart, or you found a unit that you couldn't repair but the amps are fine, I had one like that, by all means go for it. But please don't destroy perfectly working good equipment to do this. Here's another tip I'll share with you. When I'm drilling these smaller pieces, I have these are the ends of cable reels that I got from one of my jobs a while ago, and I just bolted them all together with some scrap wood on the top and the bottom. And I use this for drilling small pieces. I'm going to need to put 4 holes in this plate to mount the scanner to, and this way I can just drill right into the piece and not worry about what's underneath it. I can just drill right into it, and it's just some scrap wood that I'm screwing up. Another good thing about having this around is if I'm going to be making any cuts or taking a step bit like I did with this and drilling holes into this. These small pieces tend to catch the drill bits and spin, and you can really hurt yourself. So with this piece of wood, I can put a couple of screws in, like this one, into different spots and hold it down and not have to worry about the work spinning and hurting me. Alright, we got the chassis back from paint, and I've drilled the holes for the line array. That's all bolted down. I got the bracket for the scanner vibrato unit drilled, and it looks like that moves pretty freely without touching any of the bracket part. The problem is that bracket covers this and some of this, and I want to bolt it to the chassis like that. So I'm gonna have to probably modify. This will have to go, and I might have to cut some of that. So we'll see. So I cut the bracket for the Hammond scanner, and I cut the other bracket so that this will fit on here while that piece rests on the other bracket. I'm going to do what I did with the pedal board as well and drill through both of the pieces of work at the same time so that they line up perfectly without having to do a whole lot of measurement. That'll save me some time. This piece goes onto the disc here with some springs, and then over to the motor bracket, which I'm also going to mount somewhere around here. I think I'm going to cut this plastic piece in half and put some heat shrink around it so that the motor doesn't necessarily have to be 100% lined up, and it can move around and still work. I'm going to use this fan controller for the AC motor so I can change the speed, and that's going to cause me to probably drill this front panel to fit this here behind here. I'm going to move the lamp over to here, so that'll be speed, that'll be our on lamp, and then probably space out the input-output jacks over here. That'll take care of most of the holes in the panel. I'm going to reuse a lot of these grommets for the wiring that's here. I added this in. I got that from another amp I took apart, and we're going to put the wires in through the chassis this way. Keep it nice and clean, tuck it in there, maybe zip tie it. We did a little bit of the wiring underneath, mostly just the ground. The ground is going to be right there underneath here. If we flip this over, you can see our ground wire here. Here's going to be our on-off switch. Here's our 120 whip. It's going to go over to our fuse and then to our pilot light. And I'm probably going to wire that up next. This motor bracket's given us a whole lot of trouble, so I thought I would cover a little bit of it. I had to take my Dremel blade and put some ruts in here for this motor to really fit. As you can see, that plastic had to go into the metal a little bit, so I just kind of put some put some little ruts in there, and it's kind of solving a problem instead of just getting a new piece, which probably would have been quicker. Also, the screws I chose weren't going to be long enough to attach the motor, so I had to put in that divot. I have a tool for it. I found it, so I don't know what it's called, but I have this type of screw. It's not a pan head, so by putting that divot in there and putting the screw in, I got just enough to mount the motor. So I'm going to have to do it on that side as well for it to work. And I'll show you this tool. Again, I don't know what it's called. I found it in some tools, actually in a toolbox that I found. And this is kind of how it works. See if I can give you a preview. Simple as that. And I use it a lot more than I thought I would. Not bad for free. But in this particular circumstance, I mean, it looks nicer that way. It's more flush. But the big purpose was to give me a couple more threads to get that motor mounted and bolted down securely. Silly me, I have the whole world on my computer. I just have to go to it. It's called a countersink bit, and they come in sets. There's countersink drill bits that actually have a drill piece going through the center. This is just the countersink bit to put that divot, I called it, which is a countersink, so that those types of screws fit well and they're nice and flush to the work. Like I said, I use this piece a lot. Wouldn't be bad if you were planning on doing some of this stuff. Wouldn't be a bad idea to pick up a set. Here's what I came up with the motor mount. I still have to secure it. Works pretty well. Here's going to be my speed control. I've run into one particular issue that I wasn't aware of. These wires aren't probably going to be used. Not a big deal. We'll just take back the parts that we put into the frame for them and remove them. But this inside here is the run motor. And what I actually used as the run motor ends up being the start motor for the rest of the tone cabinet that we don't have. But that'll be fine. This motor should spin and work and be fine. We just have to take this apart, get in here and remove this motor, because when you apply power over on this end, it doesn't spin even after oiling the cup. I'm not entirely sure what happened when I took the motor off the front of the scanner. I kind of got in there and found out that it's a lot harder to remove this than I had initially expected. So I think I'm just going to leave it in place, tuck the wires like I was going to. I still haven't 100% made sure that that's not needed, but this spins a lot more freely, and I think I might be able to just power it with this motor. I've mounted the base. I'm going to do some of the wiring. Something else I wanted to show you. This unit doesn't, it's taking a 120 whip right into the motor controller. There's no step down in between there for any sort of an indicator lamp. So I found an 1819 bulb and a little jewel holder. Supposedly the 1819 bulb will take a full 28 volts. I don't know how much I believe in that. So I found a 14. I found a 14 volt 2000 milliamp power supply that, when tested, lit up the bulb good enough to give you an indication that the unit is on. Now, I probably could have built a little circuit for it, or, went and found something. I just happen to have a ton of these power supplies hanging around, all different types. What I usually do is I just crack them open, hardwire in the 120, wire out to the device. I usually save these for bigger circuits than just a bulb, but it's what it is. This is going to be quicker, easier, and it's going to recycle this power supply, which was otherwise headed to the trash. I wanted to show you the inside of this power supply that I've chosen. We lucked out. I liked these screw terminals. I was going to keep them, but they're just hardwired right to the board, along with the power prongs in here are also just hardwired right to the board. And that's I couldn't ask for a better situation, because I can just solder in my new leads in these places and encase this PCB in something that keeps it safe from grounding out or shocking anyone. It'll fit right into my design. Really pleased with this power supply. Usually those prongs are right into the board and they're kind of a pain to get out. They saved me some time with this one. I'm back with the Hammond scanner. I deleted a lot of video. I basically chased a bunch of dead ends, trying to figure out why it was noisy and why I wasn't getting any volume. And it certainly is still a little noisy. I think I can change that with rewiring some things, but the volume was so small it was unusable. And the reason is it needs a giant input. It needs a speaker level input in order to get a good signal on it. And this is what I ended up with. Got a little engine noise there. I think that's that light dimmer. It's probably not the best for this application. The way it chops the wave it's coming through there, or it's a ground thing. Still haven't really 100% gone through that. But as you can hear, we have the effect. That's about as slow as I can get it before it shuts off. That's another reason why I think I want to get rid of this dimmer. bit of distortion on the signal. That could be this tube amp. It's cranked up pretty high. This dimmer is just really fiddly. I think I should have went with a DC controlled motor, and I would have gotten probably a lot better results. I'm probably going to make this a two-part video because this build has been pretty intense. It's not unusual for a lot of my builds to kind of start in one direction and end up in an entirely different direction and get modified along the way. In that previous clip, I apologize, I didn't realize how loud my air purifier thing was. It kind of masked some of that video, but in the future that'll be turned off. My snare was also in there, that'll be turned off. Back to the scanner. Plans for the future, I want to wire these in permanently. I just kind of stuck them there temporary because I didn't want to take this apart and wire all that in. There's also supposed to be a chorus type switch connected to that line array at some point. I'm thinking it's over on this end. I might play around with that and see what I get. I think, because this is being operated off of 2 power amps, I had to run the signal into the input, and then recover it on the output with the other. I would really like to come up with some kind of a solution so that doesn't need to be there. I can just run it off of 1 amp. But as far as it working, it works. We just need to fine tune it a little bit. So I think that's what's gonna be in the second video, is kind of the fine tuning and modifying it a little more. A couple of the things that I deleted in the other videos. I took this all apart trying to get rid of that motor. It's more trouble than it's worth. It's better just to leave that in there. I might even be able to use it potentially. Not sure. That's another thing I'll experiment with. I lost a string going into there into the scanner from that second tube, which I clipped the tube anyway. I'm not 100% sure if that's necessary. If it is, I'm gonna wait till the money starts coming back in and get some threads and redo all of that. I don't know if I should put that in a video. Too many people have covered that. You want to learn how to service your scanner. There's plenty of videos for that. The wiring, I'll just go over it really quick because it's not complete. You heard it. It's pretty noisy. It's basically just each one of these points connected to a inductor underneath, and going back to each one of these capacitive plates on the scanner. I don't even know if I have them connected right, but it sounds like I do. So that's another reason I don't want to go over too much of the audio wiring. It almost feels like you could wire it almost any way you wanted. I can't verify that though. Everything else is just the power switch, the motor, the lamp. That's all going back to the 120. When I clean that up and I don't get any noise out of it, I'll go over more of that in the second video. So thanks for following me on this and sticking with me through this kind of a hack job of a video. But keep an eye out for part 2, and we'll kind of explain a little more of this. And also keep an eye out for more videos in the future. Thank you for watching.